What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another All Things Liverpool podcast. It's me, your usual host, Anish, Dogra, and we've got so much great stuff to talk about over the next 20 minutes, half an hour or so. A lot of good things and exciting things have happened in the Premier League and in football over the last couple of weeks. So let's just get right into it, and we'll start off with the Brentford game. So a really important win, given the form that we've been in the last couple of weeks with a lot of draws, a defeat, and in general, just a lack of control in many matches. But the Brentford game was, I think, everything that we needed from that match. They were okay opponents. They tested us a couple of occasions. I think Ivan Toney went close on one occasion, and Mbeumo did as well on another. But they weren't really like threatening our goal for like sustained periods in the match. And they were hard to break down as well. So they made ideal opponents. Given that, given the form that we've been in the last couple of games, where we struggled to break down some opponents. Particularly against Arsenal in the first leg. When they basically set up shop and we couldn't get past them. So against Brentford, very similar case. Even though they had the extra man, they were always going to make it very difficult for us. Put 8-9 players behind the ball and literally put 7 players across the 18-yard box. But credit to us, we did very well, and we eventually broke them down through a corner. And as with the first goal, you always need one or two things. You need a little bit of luck, where the defense, the opposition defense don't clear their lines, or a breakdown in communications, or a piece of brilliance opens the scoring. But on this occasion, it was luck, and Trent Alexander-Arnold, as he always does, and he's always been doing this season, putting in a really good ball. And it was something that it was quite threatening overall in the match, corners and set pieces, because on a couple of occasions prior to scoring the goal, we came close a few times. I think Joel Matip had a decent chance at the far post, should have done better. Van Dijk had an effort cleared off the line from a corner as well. I think he also headed one over the bar. So set pieces and corners were definitely the way through to breaking down the stubborn side. And that's exactly how it happened with Fabinho. So again, Van Dijk, he had like five yards on the defenders. He was literally able to like run through the penalty area. And when you're a big, massive centre back and you've got that, you've got the ability and obviously the chance to like run through defense, it's going to cause havoc for the opposition, and that's exactly what happened. So even though Van Dijk didn't get his head onto the ball, his disturbance to the Brentford defense basically opened up space, and it left Fabinho absolutely free at the back post, and he couldn't really miss. So great for us, and it was really important timing as well, because I think the mood inside Anfield was good. It was getting a little bit frustrated. I think there were a couple of like groans from the fans. There were a couple of people were getting a little bit angry, and Brentford kind of nullified our threat. So the goal at the time was really important, and going in 1-0 at halftime, especially at home, was really important. And in the second half, one or two things only could have happened. Either Brentford continued to sit back and we could have seen the game out 1-0, maybe 2-0, or they would have come forward, leaving us a lot of space, which is something that we really love, and where we benefit from on so many occasions. And that's kind of how all our attacks and how our second and third goal came, because of having that space. Diogo Jota had a few good chances. He made it. He forced a good save from their keeper and also hit the post. Again, those moments came from having a lot of space in the 18-yard area, and space out wide for the fullbacks. And then that's again how the second goal came as well. So Brentford had players bodies forward, and it left so much space for the two wide men, Robertson and Trent, to gallop down their flanks. And with the quality that Robertson has as well as Trent's, whenever they're in a crossing position, 9 times out of 10 they're going to deliver a fantastic ball, and that's exactly what happened for the second. And fair play to Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Given the amount of times I've been talking about Salah and Mane being at AFCON now, and saying players like Oxlade-Chamberlain, Minamino, Origi, Firmino, they all need to step up and fill in the void for when those two are gone. And that's exactly what he did. He was in the position as Salah and Mane would be. 10 yards out of goal, and in a really, really good goal scoring position. And it's fantastic for him as well, to have that confidence to, score a really good goal and a brave goal as well, going in between two defenders and, diving in for the header where he could get booed in the face. So it was really, really good for him and very, very pleasing as well, for everyone to see. And then 2-0 up, 20 minutes to go. The game was basically done. And, we topped it off with some icing on the cake with Minamino. It was his birthday as well. So, very happy that he was able to get on the score sheet, especially given the miss that he produced against Arsenal in the first leg a couple of days ago, where he absolutely blazed it over from 5 yards out. So great from him, and brilliant from Roberto Firmino again, showing why he's been so good for us over the last 5-6 years. That pressing from the front, the tackling, the aggression, the fact that the defender or the defensive midfielder literally has no time to breathe when Firmino's on the pitch. And it's exactly what happened for the goal. So excellent tackling from him. And it's also why Klopp loves him so much, because he easily could have scored literally the ball. I think it fell to Minamino. He gave it back to Firmino. And instead of, putting the ball in the back of it for himself, he was so unselfish and decided to give a nice birthday present to Taki. So great game, really good result and performance. And it's exactly what we needed as well, because after City beat Chelsea the day before, they went 13 points clear, I think, off them and 14 off us. So everything seemed like, what's the point of fighting anymore? They're 14 points clear. It seems like an absolute mile, like an impossibility that we could catch up to them. But 11 points now, and whilst that's still an unbelievable gap, we do have the game in hand against Leeds United, which could put us back to within 8 points, providing we win that. And there's still, the match at the Etihad, which happens in mid to late April, which could be a massive game, providing we're still in and around them, within 8 to 6 to 5 points. And then going there, we could definitely get we can absolutely get a result there. We, last time we won there was in 2018, so not that long ago. And given that, our form typically in that period, in the last 5 to 10 games, is normally impeccable. We usually win so many games, and that's where we hit our stride. So going to that game, as long as we're still within a chance and still within 6 points of Man City at that point, then who knows? It's still far from over, I think. And then, looking at Klopp's reaction after the match, he was absolutely he was so pumped up. He was jeering to the crowd. He was, doing a three fist pumps that he usually does after the match. But this time, I think he seemed really amped up for it, because I think he sensed all around, around the football community, around Liverpool, that they all thought, the title is done. But based on that reaction from Klopp, I don't think for 1 second he thinks it's over. And as we've seen so many times in the past, when the chips are down on our side, we usually strive and come over, and come up on the other side and somehow produce a result. So definitely far from over, in my opinion. And I think as long as we can keep on winning our games and keep the pressure on, then City can always crack, because they have done it in the past. And what matters most in every season is that it doesn't matter what your opponents do, because you can't affect that, but it matters what you do. And, looking at the league table, we've only lost 2 games, which is the exact same as them. But what's costing us is the draws, and particularly draws from winning positions, which has been the worst bit. Chelsea away 2-0 up, Tottenham away 2-1 up with 15, 20 minutes to go. What else has been there? Brighton at home 2-0 up. So draws are what's costing us, and providing we can eradicate that. And I think based on that Brentford game, when we all get more players back in the coming weeks and more players back from injury, things will only get better, and things will only get stronger for us. So great stuff against Brentford. 3-0, 3 points. You can't ask for much more. And very, very important as well going into the Arsenal game on Thursday, which we'll talk about a bit later. Talk about the Brentford game, the title discussion, and how it still is very much alive, in my opinion. But that leads me to my next topic, which is, the COVID cancellations, which is, quite a big topic, I think, in football. In the last couple of weeks, there's been a lot of games called off, rightly or wrongly, for whatever reason, and For me, I think it's something that is kind of being taken advantage of, in my opinion, from many Premier League clubs, us included. I won't say that we've been we've been like totally exempt from it, and we played by the rules, but I think Premier League clubs are now taking advantage of it because Arsenal versus Tottenham, for example, Tottenham were absolutely furious that the game was called off because apparently, even though Arsenal had 12 players out, they only had one player missing through COVID, which originally the rules were meant to be about if you got too many COVID cases coupled with too many injuries, and now we've got Afcon as well, then you can't play a match. But given that Arsenal only have one COVID case, and recently they've loaned out Ainsley Maitland-Niles, they're looking to get rid of Pablo Mari, two first-team players, and I think they got rid of one other academy player. It's kind of like a lot of clubs are kind of picking out loopholes in the system, which is terrible because it's wrong for the fans, it's wrong for the clubs, and it's very disruptive for the Premier League timeline. And just today, in fact, just in the last couple of hours or so, I saw Burnley versus I think Watford was postponed tomorrow. And looking at the league table, like normally you'll see everyone be on the same amount of games. There might be one game difference here or there, but Burnley, all right, they're rock bottom, but they have 4 games in hand over Norwich. Like that's absolutely ridiculous. And where are they going to find the time to play those games, to fit the schedule in, and higher up the table as well. Tottenham, you look there, they have 4 games in hand over West Ham, and just looking at the table, if they were to win all those games in hand, they would be on 45. Oh my god, yeah, they would be on 45 points. They'd be level on points with us. They'd be above Chelsea. So maybe we should start considering Tottenham in the title race. But back to the original point. We can't keep on having these COVID cancellations. If it means first team players are out through COVID, tough luck. Get your academy players in, because it wasn't any different in the past when teams would have 10 players out through injury, or like 8 players out and through illness and injury. So there shouldn't be any reason now. Like last season when we had our defensive crisis, we literally didn't have any recognized centre backs. We were playing midfielders in defence and youngsters in midfield. We were taught to get on with it, and whilst we weren't happy with it, it was what it was, and it should be how it is now. So for me, definitely need to scrap that rule, and they need to be told, get on with it, play your games. If you don't have the players available, tough luck. And in football, everything usually corrects itself over a season. That's one of the old sayings, and it goes to literally everything. For like a penalty decision, 1 week it can go against you, the other week it will go for you, and that's like how it happens over a season. And that's how it probably will happen with these COVID cases. 1 week Arsenal could be fielding 6 youngsters against Tottenham. The next week, they could be playing their full strength side against Man City, who have 5 youngsters in the starting 11. So it's something that for me that should be allowed to continue. Football needs to continue, and I'm glad there's been no postponements or like no games behind fixtures and nothing like that, because we all hated football last season, and it's been brilliant to have fans back this year. So it's been positive in that sense. And given that the latest report from the Premier League showed that only 33 players and staff have COVID, it's clearly showing now that COVID is dropping off in this country, which is great to see. And sooner or later, there should be no excuses from Premier League clubs to have any more games called off, irrespective of injuries and Afcon, which is still going on until the beginning of Feb. So with that leads us to the Arsenal game, which, as it stands, is due to go ahead on Thursday. Of course, we'll know if it gets called off at a later date. And again, a game that is very, very important for us. Okay, the first leg wasn't great for us, and even though there was no reaction on Twitter, I still don't think it was as bad as people make it out to be, because on another day, Minamino taps in that chance. I thought Trent and Robertson's crossing was literally non-existent in that game, and how often do you see that? So I think it was just a game where everything could have went against us. And whenever you have a situation playing against 10 men, you will always prefer scoring a goal and being 1-0 up rather than being 0-0 and playing against 10 men. Because as we saw against Arsenal in the first leg, when they had 10 men, they literally came to Anfield looking to like, that's it. We're not going to win the match with one player down. So let's just put every player behind the ball, and it makes it, firstly not a great game to watch because it's literally attack versus defense, and no one wants to see that. Everyone wants to see an open, flowing, exciting match where both teams are going at it with each other. So annoying in that aspect, and of course, I would obviously, as a Liverpool fan, I would much rather have been one up had Xhaka not been sent off, and Jota probably would have scored the chance. But never mind, we move on, and given that there's so much riding on this game, you're 2 games, 1 game away now from Wembley, 2 from winning it, and coming up against Chelsea in the final will be a great match for us. And because by the time that final comes around, our main players will be back from AFCON. So Arsenal, hopefully the game doesn't get called off, and they do get a lot of their players recovered from illness and injury. So hopefully that match will go ahead, and they'll also be fancying their chances against us. They'll be full of confidence, knowing that they came in with Anfield with a goalless draw, and for once a positive result, because pretty much every season, and for as long as I can remember, they usually come away from Anfield conceding 4 or 5 goals, and with their head in their hands. So they'll be coming into this game with much more confidence, given that they kept the clean sheet at Anfield, and with a man light. So should be a great game. Hopefully it won't get called off, and and hopefully we win and we could return to Wembley. And speaking of a man who was obviously very successful with us in winning cups, was Rafa Benitez, and sadly he is no longer the Everton boss. I think they realized that he was not the man for the job. He was quite simply a terrible appointment from the get-go. Terrible in the sense that, because obviously he's tied with us, and the fact that he's a Liverpool legend. I still think he could have succeeded at Goodison Park had he been given more time, money, and of course had more luck with injuries. But it was just it was never an appointment that would have that was easy to falter, and easy to get wrong, and very difficult to succeed. So thank you, Rafa, for giving us all the memories and all the laughs, and of course the 4-1 win at Goodison Park, and against the Brentford game, when the Liverpool fans heard of the news that Rafa had been sacked, it was absolute delirium inside the ground. I think it was the loudest it had been all match. So fantastic! It was fantastic. There were fantastic scenes. And as for Everton, where do they go from here now? It's another manager that's been sacked. Since David Moyes left in 2013, I think this is now their 6th manager now in 10 years. They had Coburn, Roberto Martinez, obviously Benitez now, Sam Allardyce. So they've not had any kind of stability since then. They spent a buttload of money. I think one of the most in the league, definitely more than us, and they've got nothing to show for it. So a lot of work to do, and particularly that everything that's gone on behind the scenes at the club since during Rafa's short reign. I think the sporting director Marcel Brands left the club or was sacked. A couple of other backroom staff left as well. So there's a lot of work to do for Everton to really challenge for at this stage, even for a European position, because there are about 3 or 4 other clubs that are way better than them right now. West Ham are absolutely fantastic, even though they lost against Leeds. They're having an unbelievable season. Leicester City are still doing better than them, and Aston Villa, of course, they're going places. In fact, I'll probably touch on them just before we end, because they are doing absolutely wonderfully right now. But yeah, back as for Everton and Rafa, the club have so much work to do, so much they need to get right, and it can't help them as well, seeing what they're going through, and compared to Liverpool, where we've been so successful. Since they left Anfield and got Goodison Park in 1892. So They've got a lot of problems, a lot to deal with, and from a Liverpool fan point of view, long way to continue because it is absolutely hilarious. And I was born in 1996, and they still have not won a trophy in my lifetime. So long way to continue, and yeah, I hope the misery lasts as long as possible. And just before we finish off, let's give a quick chat about Aston Villa. Obviously, now a club that holds quite dear to Liverpool with Steven Gerrard at the helm, and what a wonderful job he's doing so far. I think it's been 8 games now. They've won I think 3 or 4 of those. They've lost about the same, and they got the draw against Manchester United quite recently. And obviously with the signings that they're making, and it shows the pull that Steven Gerrard has. Even though this is like his biggest job in management, I know he was at Rangers and did tremendously well there, but this is his first real job in the Premier League, and all of a sudden he's signing Lucas Digne, who Chelsea were desperate to get because of Ben Chilwell's injury, and Philip Coutinho. What an absolute steal that is. And he was back in the Premier League, and when he left, I was sad because he was a wonderful player for us. He was probably our best player in the team, and he was well on his way to becoming our best player, and probably, in my opinion, maybe top 5 in the world, because at the time he was doing some unreal stuff. Literally every week you would see him, net one from 25 yards, and even if you had 2 keepers in goal, they wouldn't be stopping it. But Villa have now got him, and obviously the money we got for him, gave us Van Dijk and Alisson, and we all know what happened thereafter. But now back at Villa Park, and I think he obviously made a lot of friends back when he got that equaliser against Man United, and it clearly shows he's still there. There's still a player in there. Literally as soon as he came on, he was on the ball within a couple of seconds, started spraying it left, right, was in and got in really good positions. So it was fantastic to see, and literally directly involved in both goals. I think he started the attack for the first goal. It was like a little 1-2 with one of their players, and even though Fred got the touch that led to the chance for Jacob Ramsey, Coutinho was in the position, and if Fred didn't get the touch, then Coutinho would have, and he would have made the pass instead. And then for the goal, brilliant timing to make the run into the far post. And it's very easy to get that finish wrong, because if you don't have the composure and you don't have the coolness, then you could just snatch at it and just try and hit and hope. But he knew where to put the ball opposite side into the roof of the net, and it was brilliant for him. And of course, brilliant for Steven Gerrard, and of course for Liverpool fans to see Man United drop more points. But anyway, that's all we've got for today. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the All Things Liverpool podcast. We'll be back again probably end of the week to review the Arsenal game and talk about our next Premier League match against Chelsea, and of course talking about all the breaking news that should be happening in the next week or so. Anyways, I've been Anish, and I'll see you all next time. Take care.